Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great week. So, this week, zero point 0.2 pounds. Last week was zero point 0.8 pounds. So, it's not nothing, but it's pretty darn close this week to nothing. And honestly, I've said it before, I eat pretty much the same thing every day. It may vary about whether the protein is pork loin or chicken or fish, but honestly, I eat the same thing every day. And so, having it go down that drastically, I think that's what led me to the decision that this might be the time to step up the dosage. I wondered if I would know when to step up the dosage, and basically, I haven't lost more than zero point 0.2 pounds since October 9th. I had a big weight loss right at the beginning of the last week's show, and then it has just been straight across. So it has gotten stalled. Now, is that reason enough? I tried stepping up my exercise. I did a few long hikes, and it doesn't seem to be budging. And again, if you're just eating the same thing every day and suddenly you're like down, 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 and then suddenly it's. So I wrote my doctor and I asked him if this would be a good time to move up in dosage. We'll see what he has to say. But I have two more left in the box, which I would use because I don't waste things. And then I would try going to this next one, which to me makes some sense because if you look at the dosages, let's say that you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, they start you at 2.5, they take you up to 5 because that is the best level, I think, for glucose control. So they really want you to be at that 5 level. So after that point, we have 7.5, 10.0, and 12.5. So let's just say 2.5. Let's just shoo that out of the window here and say there are 4 dosages. If I'm looking at losing the amount of weight I want to lose, we're at about a quarter point. So switching doses feels appropriate. And there's some considerations with it. First of all, I mentioned before that a friend jumped up in dosages quite. I mentioned that a friend of mine switched dosages quickly after going on to 5.0 and jumped up to 7.5. The problem is let's say you have 100 pounds. So let's say you have 100 pounds to lose. And so on the first dose of 5.0, you lose 25 pounds. Well, it makes some sense then at 7.5 that you would maybe lose to 25. It seems to make some sense that at 7.5, you would lose another 25 pounds. And you would get and hit your 100 mark at 12.5. You apparently get used to each dose. I have not felt this myself. Like I said, I didn't know what getting used to it meant. So let's take a look at my 3-prong test that I had for dosage. Is my blood sugar still controlled? The answer is yes. Now, I had been going down to 70 fasting in the mornings and having a little bit of low blood sugar in the mornings if I exercised right away or something like that. Now it's at 90, which is still perfectly reasonable. I think that is okay. I think they just want it to be under 100 fasting. Then the next step are the voice messages of food, like eat this food. Is that still holding? And to be honest, I never had much of a problem. I had some for sure. Like I get up and say, oh, get a Diet Coke, get a snack, do that. But whatever level this drug is working at for the noise, seems to me to still be working. I seem to be still relatively uninterested in eating things outside of what I should be eating. But then the third prong comes from, am I losing weight? And since the 9th, which is approximately 14 days ago, so 2 weeks, I basically lost no weight at all. And that's that third prong. And so, like I said, I feel like I'm at a quarter point that even if I switch up now, I still will be pretty darn close to hitting my goals. The way I figure it is the way I had been going. If all things are equal and I lose the same amount of weight on each dosage level, which is just a guess, then I will be 8 points away or 8 pounds away from my goal weight, which isn't terribly bad. And I'm not even sure my goal weight really should be what my goal weight is. I actually believe it should be a little higher. So right now I sort of pin myself at 114 to be my goal weight, but I also look at how much my scale says is muscle and tissue and bone in my body. And if I were to say I would be 20% fat, let's just make up a number, I should really be more like 120. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, I haven't been this weight since I was a 8-year-old girl, maybe not even then. So we'll have to see how it goes when I get there. And I'm perfectly open to this idea of remaining flexible with it. So I did ask my doctor, and we'll see what he has to say. Like I said, I would like to have a big winter because when I get done with winter, let's say March, April, that's when I really do my next big hiking, bird watching, camping. And I love going on big long hikes and big long bike rides. We're talking like 50-mile bike rides, 15-mile hikes. I would love to be able to do that. And if I could be at this weight that I used to be before I got injured, boy, that would feel great. And I know how good I felt back when I was at that weight. So I would love to start spring off with that weight again. So hoping for a big winter push here. And again, we're getting into Thanksgiving. We're getting into Christmas. And Christmas time, boy, whoever thought this was a good idea? The first time I got diagnosed with diabetes or pretty darn close to diabetes, I had an A1C done the day after Christmas. Now, who thought that was a good idea at all and not a good idea? I would like to have some extra oomph going into these seasons where food is very tempting. And that would be nice to be able to do it. So that's my update. Again, I got over some of my stomach problems. I mentioned that after camping, I had a lot of stomach problems. And now I'm starting to wonder, either it was a combination of the camping and not getting enough fiber, but I also started drinking smoothies. And that is when the constipation really started. And so I thought, I wonder if people have problems with constipation if they were to cough over 1/3 of their calories in a day over to liquid diet. And sure enough, I found people saying that they do just that. My understanding, we're not going to get too detailed about this, is that this drug slows down your processing of food. Food will sit in your intestines a long time, which on one side makes you feel full longer, but on the other side can get to be a little bit like sawdust. It is there so long. And if you don't constantly have this flow of food coming through your system, nothing really pushes it out, and then it can get constipated. So I'm, like I said, not too much detail, but I'm wondering if I shouldn't use smoothies, either homemade or in a bottle, as supplements to my diet, but still eat this core diet I'm eating. And primarily I fix the issue by doing an apple a day and a pear a day. And just that additional amount of fiber that is actually solid food did the trick. I've been great. So that's why I am considering moving up in dose. But like I said, we'll find out next week if the doctor says that's a good idea. So last week we talked about what do you do when you have regrets? And of course, I have regrets. And people have regrets about their weight all the time. I think it's easy because we think if I would have done this when I was in my 20s, when I was in college, I could have had these great adventures. I could have met all these boys and they would have been interested in me instead of my best friend who was very thin and athletic. Maybe I would have got some of those boys. So you start thinking about these regrets. But you also have to realize this drug is really something special. And it helps a lot of people who couldn't get there, get there. I watch videos, I see people on YouTube, and I have never seen people cry over a drug as much as they cry over this drug, that this is finally giving them a chance at their lives. And so I understand at this point having regrets because they felt like they missed out on something. They felt like they did. And I do too. I think about what it would have been like to have a different makeup in my body when I was younger. So it happens, but I think we have to kind of adjust ourselves to regret just in general. And so I thought I would talk a little bit about what can you do when you have regrets. And the first thing is of course, to start trying to make progress slowly. on whatever it is you have regrets about. If this was a new job, if this is weight loss, start making progress, even any amount of progress. So even if you're not on a GLP-1 drug and you still want to lose weight and you still want to get there, start somewhere. See if you can challenge yourself to just lose 1 pound. And then the next time, see if you can lose another pound. And until you start getting your rhythm, keep on that 1 pound piece of it. Because I think what happens is we say, oh, you know what? I want to lose 100 pounds, which I do. And it's so overwhelming. And then you lose 10. And then maybe you lose 20. And oops, I put on 5. It was Christmas. And oh, now it just feels like I've lost all my momentum. So starting with small steps, which is the whole name of my podcast, start with small steps, is a way to go. And as you can see, that's how I got through almost everything in my life, is using small steps. So then even on exercise, if you're getting yourself into an exercise regime, I see people, years I belonged to the gym, and boy, it's January, and I'm going to go on that treadmill and I'm going to knock out 10 miles on the treadmill and I'm going to run or I'm going to bike. And they kill themselves. I mean, they just are so hurt, worn out. And right now I work with a trainer. I've been working with her for a really long time. She helped me get through my ankle injury, but she helped me lose weight the very first time by turning in food logs and getting me on an exercise program. The truth of it is I saw her just shortly after I had surgery. And what they did is they cut through, my core muscles. And so my core muscles were just trashed from the surgery. They weren't great before that, but they certainly were not good after it. And she slowly built me up. The good thing about having her as a trainer, and I can get you her contact if you're interested, because I think she does remote meetings, but is she looks to see where you're at. And then she gives you the next step up. And now I've been seeing her for such a long time, I know her tricks. Like today when we worked out and we're doing these bench presses with this weight, she starts me out with the weight I normally do. And then she says, okay, this next round, we're not going to do 45 seconds. You're going to do 8 from this heavier weight, 8 rounds with the heavier weight. That is her key that I'm moving up in weight, and she is getting me used to it. So she's fantastic. But if you start with exercise, you have to start with a program, come up with a program, and start small. It feels frustrating because you want to get fit and you want to get in shape in a hurry. But if you go too fast, you will get injured like I got injured, and you will feel sore. You'll feel uninspired to go back again because, boy, that was tough. And now I don't want to go back because that sucked the last time I went to the gym. So starting small. The other thing is you want to focus on consistency, whether you're talking about what you're eating versus or exercising, or just maybe getting outside and going for a walk. But consistency is the most important thing, because what happens is if you don't do it, it will never work. So let's say that you're lifting weights and you're doing a lot of weights, but you only go once every week and a half. You're not going to make progress. You are better off doing small weights and being consistent about it every day than you are about taking big jumps. And you want to make sure you're doing strength training. I can't say enough good things about strength training. I did cardio for years and years. Get yourself on the treadmill, get yourself on the exercise bike, do the stair climber, go for a walk, go for a run. And what happens, at least from my understanding of it, is that your muscles are little factories that burn calories. They burn at twice the rate, 8 calories per minute. I don't know, but they burn at twice the rate fat does. Fat still burns calories, believe it or not. That's how come you can see someone who weighs a great deal can put in a lot of food and not gain any more weight, because their body, even their fat itself, is burning calories. But muscle burns it at twice the rate. So if you have muscles, first of all, you are raising up your goal weight. You are burning calories at twice the rate. So basically, I suspect that people who say they don't have a metabolism actually don't have any muscles, and so therefore their body is just not even burning anything at all. So weight training is one of the most important things. It doesn't even have to be like the big heavy dumbbell barbells. It can be resistant bands. But if you go see someone like my trainer, she will know all the tricks, or he will know all the tricks of starting slow and getting you going. So when I started doing push-ups, I started doing a leaning push-up. And then I started doing push-ups on my knees. And then I started doing the real push-ups, the full body push-ups. So a good trainer will know how to start you off slow, or even on an exercise class. There has to be always these classes online, and usually they have the trainer of the class and someone who's starting off small and someone who is advanced, and you can follow which of the three. And I know this is true for me too, that I always felt like I had to follow a more advanced person because I want to go, I want to keep going, I want to make this happen. And so instead, make sure that you focus on that. Because honestly, this drug and losing this much weight is going to take out a lot of muscle mass. And you don't want to end up being whatever age, whenever you're done, and being what they call skinny fat, right? So you're skinny, but there's no muscle tone on you, because when you're losing weight, the body is trying to protect itself. It's trying to help you survive. And so it is going to burn muscle like it burns fat, even though the muscle is better for you, because it thinks, woo, what if there's a famine? I got to protect Jill. And so you will lose muscle being on any diet. And I was on Jenny Craig. They warned me about it then. I was on Weight Watchers. They warned it about me there. It'll happen on this too, and even more so, because I think you can be a lot more dedicated to dieting with this drug than you can. So strength training is important. Resistance training is important. And even on cardio, you do not have to go full speed on cardio. Moderate cardio, and they usually refer to moderate cardio as I'm able to hold a conversation while I'm on the treadmill, while I'm running, while I'm on the bike. Can you talk to someone if they were sitting right next to you? That's moderate. I mean, obviously, if it's too easy, then that might be too easy, but a moderate level of exercise is actually better, and you will stay away from injuries, and you'll stay from mentally away from thinking, oh, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. But if it's moderate, it's easier to convince yourself. And so a consistent moderate level of exercise is better almost every time than hard exercise. Hard exercise is when you're weight training and you've been doing a really great job, and suddenly you might be able to do a show. I remember a while my trainer had me do a bench press test. It's pretty darn good. She says with the weights I was pressing, I could probably start competing in bench presses, which is amazing to me. But I decided I don't want to focus all my time and energy on doing that. I want to focus all my energy on doing something else. The other part of it too is that you want to make sure that you have energy, which means that you're going to get good night's sleep. If you are not getting good nights of sleep, focus on that. I mean, I had insomnia for decades. And finally, during the pandemic, I focused on it. Go to bed every day the same day. Made sure my room was perfectly quiet and perfectly dark. Make sure that my sheets and my bed were soft and comfortable. Make sure the temperature in my room was what I wanted to sleep in. I tend to run a little bit hot. I suspect some of it has to do with my weight, making sure of that. Also, making sure that you eat enough, because if you're not eating enough, whether you're on a GLP or not, you could burn out on energy for sure. And then just track your progress so that you know you're pushing yourself. If you see that I'm doing lateral raises and it's the same weight and it's been the same weight for a while, maybe it's time to bring it up a bit. Again, if you hire a trainer, that person will be able to encourage you to move up when they see that you're ready. I can't begin to tell you how great having a good trainer is. Made all the difference in my life. Now, I went to someone to see a trainer. You get like a free little coupon, and you can go see a trainer, and he was pretty hardcore. So I had just had surgery, as I mentioned. My core was completely shot. I had a kind of stitch in my system that was holding everything together, and he was hardcore. I met my trainer after that point, and she understood what I could do, what I was capable of, and what needed work, and she was able to work me up slowly. So if your trainer is pushing you but injuring you, probably not the right way to go. If your trainer is pushing you, maybe you get a little bit sore, but you're not getting injured, that's a good way to go. So having a good trainer, I found mine at the gym, but you can sometimes find them at classes. There's private classes. I go to now a private gym where she works. I mean, she sort of rents out area in the gym, and so she's her own person now. But you can find trainers in many different locations, and I can't begin to tell you how helpful that is. And I think the next time we'll go ahead and talk about some other ways of dealing with regret that are not exercise related. This ended up being a little bit more exercise. But I wanted to tell you that the best thing you can do in making progress in your health is starting small. And typically where we sit, particularly if you've been overweight for a long time, is fitness. You're just not at the place where you really want it to be for very long. And if you've been like me, I'm the nerd. I've been the nerd my whole life. That was my whole thing. I failed at almost every gym class, except strangely enough, weight training, which I ended up being kind of good at. I hated gym. I mean, it was just where I was going to throw up. We had the 12-minute mile run thing in gym, and I walked the whole thing and glared at my gym teacher the entire time. I wasn't going to do it. This isn't my future. I'm a nerd. I'm a computer nerd. I'm going to go in the computer industry, which I did. This doesn't matter to me. And I wish I had learned about the health aspects of it more instead of the you're going to run until you throw up aspects of it. But my trainer has helped me with that. So you're welcome to put messages on YouTube and let me know what you think. If you're having trouble finding a trainer, I can help. I also know of a couple services that I liked a great deal. But the one thing about fitness services is that you have to monitor yourself. One thing about my trainer is she watches and she says, okay, Jill, you're going up to the next weight. Or, ooh, you're not really doing that the correct way. Your back is kind of arched. Your back should be straight in this case. She'll be able to fine tune it because if you're bending in the wrong place, you're not working the muscle you think you are. I'll just tell you right off the bat that the service I really liked is Kathy Freeberg, and her website is CATHE, I think, .com, Kathy.com, but she is just fantastic. And her exercise programs, again, multiple different levels. There's so many of those programs. It costs about $250 a year, and you can watch all her exercise stuff on demand. But even like Apple Fitness, there's a number of services out there. So anyway, I hope that helps. And like I said, next week, we'll talk a little bit more about regret and what we can do about regret outside of exercise. Have a good one.